Good day, everyone. Welcome back to the Doctor Detox Show. I'm Dr. Darrell Wolfe, and today's show is Neurodegenerative Disease and the Calcium Ion Connection with Jay Lee. In 2009, Dr. Paul Lee invented sigma antibonding calcium, which is known as SAC calcium, and he did this in efforts to make a better biological calcium. When his friend fully recovered from the last stage of prostate cancer with colon metastasis, only with SAC, nothing else, intensive research on SAC calcium began. A whole new era of nutrition was now about to be born. So, leading to the discovery of its amazing effects on many degenerative diseases such as osteoporosis, Parkinson's, and autoimmune diseases. So understand something, everyone. We really need to take a deep look at neurological diseases because I'm going to tell you something. You ready for this? Okay. So cancer and heart disease kind of jockey for the number one position of diseases in North America right now or throughout the world. But here's the deal. With this whole thing about COVID, neurological diseases are going to blow through the roof. Do you know how many people are out there freaking out wearing masks that aren't even helping them, but inside their mind they believe they are? Do you know how many people have locked themselves in the house when we already know to get rid of a cold or a flu? You go out in the sunshine, you get fresh air, you go down to the beach. Do you know how many people that have locked themselves down and still locking themselves down that aren't eating right, thinking right, drinking right, living right? Okay, just remember this. When you watch this show, just remember what I said, that neurological disease is going to become the number one disease in the next year or two, and you're going to go, no way, it couldn't do that. Okay, so let's just find out that where the mind goes, the body follows, and that stress is a very big part of neurological diseases because guess what? Your thoughts are everything. Your thoughts create everything. So invisible creates the physical. And understand something. An image creates what? A thought. A thought creates an emotion. If it's a beautiful one, you're dumping love hormones and chemicals. And if it's not, if it's a scary one that's full of fear, then you're going to be dumping adrenaline and cortisol and what else? Histamine. Now, here's a statistic for you before we start the show. Did you know that 75 years ago that the average person would have 3 traumatic situations per month? Did you know before COVID that we actually created a high stress situation in our mind, because where the mind goes, the body follows, 17 times a day, on average? Now did you know that we're doing it 25 to 50 times a day? So you can't keep on tapping the brain and telling it to release adrenaline and cortisol, because when you do that, you're saying there's a tiger chasing me and you're supposed to be running and burning it off. But now we're just sitting there and we're not running because there's no tiger, because the tiger's invisible. It's our thoughts. So what do you think is going to happen when you dump all this acid into the body? Well, you're going to burn out the tissues and burn out the nervous system. You're going to burn out your brain. So this is why we're here today, to talk about the power that calcium plays in the body for helping to keep you healthy on a neurological level. So let's begin the show. Good day, Jay. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Dr. Wolf, for inviting me. Excited to be here.
Beautiful. So why don't you just start and let the people know what you've got to show them and tell them today to help to expand their mind, okay?
Well, today we're going to talk about neurodegenerative diseases, and we do know that it's on the rise, especially with all that high stress level in our lives. We know that our body is somehow combating it by breaking down the bones and releasing calcium to neutralize all that acidity caused by the stress hormones. But it does have that big, huge consequence, because that calcium, all that we're losing from our bone, is it's actually calcifying trillions of our cells. And it is actually known to be the leading cause of degenerative diseases, including neurodegenerative diseases. So today we're going to be talking about some Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, ALS, and multiple sclerosis, and then some other emotional and mental disorders related to calcium. And I like to start out by showing that, there's a statistics that we need to get a little familiar with, because as our life is extended, more and more people are diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's disease. And there is a saying that a few decades from now, about half of us will have Alzheimer's and the other half will be caretakers. So it's kind of the miserable outlook we have regarding neurodegenerative diseases. And it is devastating disease. If you have seen, if you have someone close to you going through these diseases, it's really hard to see and hard to care for. But here is a research I'd like to share. Neuronal and glial calcium signaling in Alzheimer's disease. A lot of people didn't connect Alzheimer's with calcium, but this is what it says. Collectively, the available data show that perturbed cellular calcium homeostasis plays an important or prominent role in the pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease, suggesting potential benefits of preventive and therapeutic strategies that stabilize cellular calcium homeostasis. Now, that's a big homework because science couldn't figure out how to really bring in cellular calcium homeostasis once it's broken. And this happens to almost everybody as we age. I mean, we build our bone up to age 35, 40, and then we start losing bone mass. And guess where all the bone mass is going? It's not just excreted, but it actually gets piled up in cellular level. We call this mitochondrial dysfunction. And our mitochondria becomes a factory for reactive oxygen species that churns out tons of free radicals to damage DNA, RNA, proteins, and all that. And then, most importantly, it breaks down cellular communication. And we do know that cellular communication is done by calcium signaling in its most basic level. So our bone, if it breaks down and it gets displaced in the wrong places, it becomes the major cause of all the degenerative diseases that we know. And then here, this research said that it is actually the disturbance of cellular calcium homeostasis which plays a prominent role in pathogenesis of Alzheimer's disease. So let's start off by reviewing what calcium ion does in our body. Calcium is not just bone and teeth, but in its ionic form, which is the only physiological form in our body, it's responsible for muscle and heart contraction. It is also responsible for stem cell regulation. It's a neurotransmitter, second messenger. Hormone secretion is regulated by calcium ion, enzyme activation, immune system, all the cellular functions, including DNA replication. If you do not have enough calcium ion, then your cells will divide with some mutations. So it's a very important mineral that has to be tightly regulated by our body. And as this slide shows, that calcium ion actually plays a leading role over regulating other mineral functions in our body. So it's very important. No wonder our body has to maintain good amount of calcium in ionic form. About 50% of that in our blood is already in ionic form. But the thing is that most of the calcium that's absorbed in our system through diet and supplementation comes into our body as protein-bound calcium, which is physiologically not active. It's more like a standby form, trying to release ionic calcium when body requires it. But as we grow older with our sedentary lifestyle, we don't do much of the bone stressing activities. So this protein-bound calcium is not much utilized that well. So a lot of it is going to be displaced and then accumulated in the wrong places in our body. So regular calcium takes vitamin D and peptide to be absorbed as protein-bound calcium. And this is not what our body uses. Of course, it's there to supply calcium ion, but ionic calcium is what body uses. And ionic calcium is absorbed without the help of the vitamin D and peptide and no ATP from our body. SAC calcium provides ionic calcium directly in ionic form, which our body can detect and be triggered to do things that we desire to do. So SAC calcium was invented in 2009, and it employs sigma antibonding, which is very unique, very weak bonding. You don't find molecules on Earth that has sigma antibonding stable. So it took 10 years of research and development to make it stable in room temperature. Uh, it shares the same chemical structure as regular calcium carbonate, but it has +2 charge, and it releases calcium in ionic form when it is ingested with water. So its science is unique, its absorption is unique, and its function is unique in our body. And it triggers really unique responses, which are natural responses, but we're not able to trigger before. So SAC, this is an invention, the new calcium carbonate, but in its working, it releases calcium in ionic form, and it triggers really unique but good responses in our body. But going back to neurodegenerative diseases, there has been many studies, and you can actually go to PubMed to type calcium ion, and any neurodegenerative you probably be able to find a lot of research done already linking the disruption of calcium homeostasis to the pathogenesis of these neurodegenerative conditions. And before, in treating Alzheimer's disease, they focused more on preventing or eliminating the buildup of amyloid beta or tau protein, because that's what you see. But now more researchers found out they go even deeper and show the abnormal calcium level in brain cells. That was what's causing all these neurodegenerative diseases. So I'd like to share another research here. It says that these calcium ion signaling abnormalities tells the balance between the long-term potentiation and long-term depression of synaptic mechanisms. And as a result, it weakens synapses, and all these damaged synapses are eliminated in Alzheimer's disease. So more studies shows that Alzheimer's disease neurons exhibit enhanced intracellular calcium liberation from ER and reduced store-operated calcium entry. So in other words, in the cells, there's so many the calcium deposits in cellular level. So these calcium reservoirs are overflowing with calcium, and this is contributing to the degeneration of brain cells. So here another research shows how neurons are highly susceptible to changes in intracellular calcium concentration. Insufficient intracellular calcium ion content leads to abnormal functioning of neurons. And this research also says that excessive calcium ion level causes cell death. So more and more, all these researchers are agreeing that we have to somehow regulate to restore calcium homeostasis in order to prevent or have any therapeutic chance of reversing these conditions. So we do know that mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of our cell, as we age and more calcification happens cellular level, too much calcium is stored within the membranes of mitochondria. Our mitochondria function dips. Not only that, it becomes a factory for producing tons of free radicals that damage our cells, right? So that's why we see this amyloid pathology and tau protein pathology relating to Alzheimer's disease, right? So as you can see, we know we have shown from previous shows how SAC can build bone very strong, and in the process, it takes all that excess calcium from cellular level and soft tissue and joints and everywhere and brings back to our bone, bringing in calcium homeostasis. And that also happens in your brains as well. So let's look at...
Jay, if I can say this before you move on to the next one. So what I've taught, and even German New Medicine teaches, is that before you'll have inflammation or you'll have a problem anywhere else in the body, you'll already have inflammation in your brain. So when you have a positive, and loving thought, the brain is very calm and it just runs like a smooth motor. It's not, and if you have a negative thought, it becomes the mad scientist. And if it's a negative thought, it can fire up and it can actually create tons of inflammation. And then the disease will show up in the body part where the emotion is in the same vibration as that body part of that organ. So they say that in German New Medicine that if you take a look at a cancer in someone, and I'll just use cancer just to show what I'm talking about. If you take a look at a certain cancer in somebody's body, you can look at a certain part of their brain and you can see where the inflammation was there, and you'll see scar tissue, okay, and even displaced calcium. And then you can take a look at a person's brain and you can see the scar tissue and the displaced calcium, and then you know what kind of what area in the body they actually have damage. So just thought I'd add that.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your input. You know how there's a study done that people who have osteoporosis actually have the higher chance of developing neurodegenerative diseases, right? All these statistics, that study's been done before, it kind of shows, it kind of correlating, but then could not really figure out back then, but now the science is there to really show that that it's a calcium, right, that's been responsible for this, like, this malfunctioning of brain cells. Especially our brain cell is very sensitive. It's very sensitive to the calcium ion concentration, because calcium is all about signaling, right? And calcium ion serves as a neurotransmitter, right? That's what's really happening in the synapses, right? So now the scientists are discovering the important role that calcium ion really plays in all the brain cell functions. So if we can just move on to ALS and even Parkinson's, there's some studies done, right? But before I show these studies, is there any other options out there? I mean, riluzole is ALS medication, but then it only prolongs survival by just a month only, right? There hasn't been really any solution out there to help. But then it's an interesting study by Dr. Christoph Meyer. He found out that calcium blocking hypertensive drug reduced the risk of Parkinson's disease, right? It's not that we are promoting the calcium channel blockers. You can have some other side effects too. But then the reason that he was seeing this result is because it kind of slowed down the calcification of brain cells, right? But then now we know better. We know we have a way to actually not just prevent calcification or slow down calcification in brain cells, but we know how to really restore the calcium homeostasis that could bring back calcium homeostasis in our brain cells. So here's a study.
Before you move on, can I mention something? Everybody, at the end of this video, I'm going to put an actual testimonial up of a gentleman who had ALS. Now, his wife was just getting ready to take him to a nursing home because he could no longer speak. He could no longer lift up his head. Now, this might be a little bit hard for some people to believe, but let's just put it this way. I did a consult with them, and what we did was we got them on a better diet. We call it the Perfect Day Diet, which you can see in my library. If you go to my library to the Perfect Day Guide, you can take a look at what the diet looks like. But the main thing that we put him on was SAC calcium. Now, whether you believe this or not, but in 2 weeks, okay, he could lift his head up. He could actually move his arm again, his hand, okay, and he could actually talk, and that was canceled. Okay, so the reality was he was preparing himself for the end. But I'll let this testimonial speak for itself, and it'll be we'll be putting it up right at the end of this show. Okay, and understand something. This is not a supplement, everyone. This is a treatment, and this is a therapy. This is why you need to get in touch with a doctor to actually be able to utilize this treatment protocol. So You won't find the product up in my shop that you can just go click and buy. You'll need to call us, okay? And then we will talk to you, and then we will talk to you professionally, because anything that's powerful needs to be done right, and everybody deserves to have it done right, okay? Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, thank you for that. Really, SAC is treatment, and doctor supervision and guidance is definitely needed. Uh, what kind of product to take, and also what dosage to take, when to take it, and how to take it. And also, it has to be part of really healthy, other comprehensive treatment protocol. So we definitely recommend, and this is the only way the SAC is actually marketed. We don't market directly to patients, but only through qualified doctors like Dr. Wolfe. So here's another research I'd like to share with you. And the title says the role of calcium ion signaling in Parkinson's disease. Right? So it says here that because calcium ion signaling affects all aspects of neuronal cell biology, cells must tightly regulate calcium ion level to avoid uncontrolled responses that could otherwise lead to pathological conditions and cell death. And here it shows how the calcium ion signaling, it's like any other communication, right? In order for the communication to take place, right, all the signals has to be transmitted without any interruption. But then if you're muffling, or if the volume is too low, and then there is no medium to actually to transmit the signal, then communication breaks down. That's exactly what's happening to all these cells in the brain that has overloaded calcium. Right? So that's what's been affecting, and these researchers are finding out the role of calcium ion homeostasis in the pathogenesis of Parkinson's disease. Here's another research that I could share. It's about pathogenesis of ALS. It says it has become obvious that the lack of understanding of the precise mechanisms of motor neuron degeneration presents a major obstacle in the development of effective therapies for ALS. Altered calcium homeostasis and calcium signaling pathway activation is one potential mechanism that accounts for at least three major and interrelated toxic pathways: oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction, and neuroinflammation in neurodegenerative diseases such as ALS. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your testimony from Dr. Wolfe. And this is what the research has been finding out, right? And this is what this research says. These findings are in good agreement with a quantitative comparison of calcium ion homeostasis, where low cytosolic calcium buffering capacity acts as an important risk factor for degeneration. And in contrast, an increase in cytosolic calcium buffering capacity could protect vulnerable motor neurons from degeneration, both in vitro and in vivo. So all these researchers are agreeing right now. They're all coming up with the same results, saying that it is the calcification of brain cells, right? Now, because of calcium homeostasis restoration through SAC, we're able to see the improvement in calcium homeostasis in brain cells, and that's the results that we've been experiencing. There's another research about multiple sclerosis. There are indications for disturbances in calcium homeostasis in multiple sclerosis patients, contribution to MS pathogenesis. And it says balanced calcium homeostasis is essential for the efficient function of cells and organisms. Now the research is finding out, but really there was no way to restore calcium homeostasis in these cells. There was no way to reverse calcification. And this is first time really experienced by giving SAC, and we are seeing the results in patients. So even here, glioblastoma development is related to calcium, right? But then when we did the animal test, we found out that other than building the bone and bringing in calcium homeostasis, we found out that SAC, by proliferating osteoblast cells that build bone, it actually increases the production of osteocalcin. And I did mention this in previous videos as well, as the work of Dr. Gerald Casenti from Columbia University. In his 20 years of study, is getting a really big spotlight right now, that this osteocalcin, which is the hormone that's produced in our bones, especially the osteoblast cells, right, has tremendous impact in not only the energy metabolism, but brain development and cognition and memory cells as well. So as you can see in this diagram, this osteocalcin that's coming out from the bone, right? It's really responsible for neurotransmitter production. And we have found out that SAC can really increase the production of osteocalcin. And that's why another reason that SAC has been really good for a brain. And his work is also highlighted here in The Guardian. And it shows there that when they actually tweak the genome of mice, and then these mice did not produce osteocalcin. These mice actually experienced increased circulating glucose, and then the researcher says that they kind of looked a bit stupid, they say, right? And also looked depressed. So they were able to see the osteocalcin had definitely a huge impact in brain, right? And this is what Casenti says. Osteocalcin acts in muscle to increase the ability to produce ATP, the fuel that allows us to exercise. In the brain, it regulates the secretion of most neurotransmitters that are needed to have memory. The circulating levels of osteocalcin declines in humans around midlife, which is roughly the time when these physiological functions such as memory and the ability to exercise begin to decline. So we have like a double-edged sword here with SAC. It restores calcium homeostasis, so our brain cells can function properly. And also it increases the production of osteocalcin. That's a huge impact on neurotransmitter production as well as ATP, and also significant impact on the functions of synapses as well. So I'd like to share some testimonies from my side as well. There was an 85-year-old male in the USA who was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. But the thing was that he would just, as he walks, he just veers to one side and falls, right? And he doesn't know that he's just falling. That's the problem, right? So he also displayed early symptoms of Alzheimer's. But when he started to take SAC treatment, about 2 months, he didn't fall anymore. And then a lot of these early signs of Alzheimer's symptoms retracted, disappeared as well. And we had one remarkable story from a doctor in Manila. He gave SAC to his own mother, who had dementia for about 3 years, and her personality disappeared, and she could not remember anybody. But after taking SAC for about 5-6 months, she began to remember everyone, and her personality is back. So he said, "My mother's back," and that was a kind of really touching testimony. And there was a 19-year-old male in USA diagnosed with early stage of ALS, but the early symptoms of ALS actually disappeared after taking SAC for about 2 months. And there was another 65-year-old male with late stage ALS who could not really go to the toilet by himself, was able to go to the toilet by himself taking SAC. And there was a 53-year-old male who had difficult swallowing due to that neck muscle weakness. And he was able to swallow food after taking SAC. And there was another 65-year-old female who was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. But after taking SAC, she improved a lot. And 75-year-old with severe Parkinson's, he took SAC, and his tremors almost disappeared, he says. And he's a happy man now. I mean, these stories, as it goes on and on, we're hearing many encouraging stories. This is all because now We know it's backed by the research, and we know through other evidences how strong and how fast we can build bones and how decalcification happens all throughout our body. Uh, our mitochondrial function it just is supercharged. Every cell's function is supercharged. The oxidative stress that's damaging our DNA, RNA, it's substantially reduced, and calcium signaling is restored. And for many cancer patients, we have experienced actually the body temperature rise 1 to 2 degrees because of the mitochondrial function is restored. And all these things are really helping patients to uh, really experience amazing changes with their symptoms. So, other than that, the other thing I'd like to share is there are some other mental and cognitive benefits of SAC. We have some doctors who've been giving SAC to autistic kids and experienced some significant changes in their behaviors that are very encouraging. It says here that one 17-year-old autistic teenager who had no conversation with his mother started to make a comments like, "Oh, your hair looks pretty good," after her mother returned from hair salon and stuff like that. Here's a first grade elementary school child with ADHD, had never sat at his desk more than 5 minutes. But after taking SAC, he reads books more than half an hour now and wanted to continue reading instead of playing outside. So that was a huge change from 5 minutes to more than a half an hour, right? And there's another woman in her 50s was suffering from panic attacks. So she stayed in her room most of the time and did not go out at all. But after taking SAC, she lives a normal life now, right? That's amazing. And there's another patient who had really severe form of insomnia for more than 50 years. Ever since his childhood, he's 60-year-old now, but ever since his childhood years, he could not really fall asleep that well. So, I mean, think about it, lifelong, not being able to sleep well, right? And that continued, and it really contributed to deterioration. On his arm, he could not have any sensation in his arms, right? It was numbing like a paralysis. So he had to massage his arm every day and pound on it to get any feeling back. His head felt foggy all the time. He felt miserable, and he constantly actually drank to forget his condition. But when he was introduced to SHC therapy, uh, from very beginning, the onset of taking the treatment, he said his head felt a lot clearer. He felt like, he said in own words, a big ice block melting in strong sun rays. That's what he says, right? And he found himself waking up refreshed the next morning. And he said he never slept like that in all his life. His depression subsided, right? And then all that paralysis in his arm is restored. Now he can really have all the senses back. And these are the things that the people are experiencing. And this is something money cannot buy. So back to you, Dr. Wolfe.
So there it is. So now you have it. You know, there are answers out there. When somebody says to you, "This is all we can do for you," understand they're not lying. They're just telling you this is all we can do for you. You know, there's discoveries every day that can help us turn our lives around. And this is one of those truly amazing discoveries. And I just want to thank Jay Lee for introducing it to me and allowing me to be able to utilize this product and treat my patients with it and be able to really give them and offer them new hope. Thank you, Jay. Is there anything that you'd like to say to everybody before we finish up today?
Definitely, it is our pleasure to work with you, Dr. Wolfe, offering your more comprehensive care to patients along with SAC. I'm really hoping that more of your patients reap the benefits. Of course, this is not for everybody, and SAC is not bulletproof. But these testimonies that we've been sharing and these researches that we're sharing, it's a real story. So everyone's different, but if we take the other health guidelines from Dr. Wolfe and take SAC, I'm glad that I'm sure that we'll be able to reap far better results.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for coming on the show today. And just so you know, everyone, we'll be doing at least 9 and maybe more shows. We'll be doing shows on some of the most prominent situations when it comes to health that people are dealing with today, so that we can show you how that you can integrate this into your health protocol already to work along with your practitioner, your doctor, so that you have a better chance of creating that homeostasis right down to the cellular level, so that you can help to repair the mitochondria that makes the ATP, so that you can bring the calcium back out of the tissues that shouldn't be in, like your brain, and bring it back to the bones. Thank you very much, Jay. And I
Dr.
can't wait.
Wolfe,
Go ahead, sir.
thank you, Dr. Wolfe.
Thank you, my friend, and I can't wait until our next show. Everyone, I want to thank you for joining me, and I just want to go over a couple things, and that's this. Just know this, that we are doing personal treatment and trainings. And what do they look like? Well, you can come with your loved one, your caretaker. You can come just by yourself, or you can come with your family. We're going to teach you the most powerful body work and how to create the perfect day on an emotional, physical, and a spirited level. We're going to teach you that there's a hidden practitioner in all of us. There's a genius in all of us. And for those of you who would like to learn more about the SAC calcium, please just go to docofdetox.com, click on library, then click on the SAC calcium guide, and then you can check through the information. And then feel free to give me a call, or you can click the top and you can get a consultation. All right, where it says consultations, you can sign up, fill out the history, or if you've got questions, you can call me. Just dial our 800 number and then dial 0, and then they will send you over to me. And just know that we're here to help you, and we will guide you, and you're never bothering us. Remember, your questions matter because you matter. And for those of you who want to know more about what we're up to, go to our events page on Doc of Detox and understand we've got 3 courses coming. One in Orlando, one in Palm Springs, and then of course in Kelowna, British Columbia, where our main office is. And when we're in Orlando and Palm Springs, we'll be at the Omni 5-star resort. We will be there for 21 days because we're doing the whole life coach certification, and we're doing the Wolfe Non-Surgical certification if you'd like to join us. And for those of you that have always wanted to experience, and we're going to be doing that too in Palm Springs as well. So it'll be September in Orlando, Florida, and it'll be November in Palm Springs, and it'll be October in Kelowna, British Columbia. And understand something. If you want to come to Orlando, you want to come to Palm Springs, at the Omni, you can stay anywhere you want. But if you stay at the Omni, instead of paying over $300 for these rooms, you'll pay $119 a night. And you can come and stay with us for a few days, only a couple of days, or as long as you want, depending on your condition. And we give you a money-back guarantee on our treatments, that we will do more in the first treatment than anybody else has ever done before when it comes to body work. Because you can give up that cane, you can give up that walker, and you do not have to be like the majority. And when somebody says to you, this is all we can do, guess what? We're going to do a heck of a lot more. We're going to unleash the power to heal using our body work, using the perfect day nutritional, and by using the SAC calcium to get that displaced calcium back into your bones. Okay? Don't ask yourself why you're as stiff as a board. Don't ask yourself why your memory's going. Okay? The reality is that you can reverse the hands of time. All right? And never forget that. So don't forget to email me at quickstart@docofdetox.com if you want my 7 empowering steps. You can also get my Healthy to 100 book free. Just pay the shipping and we'll send it out to you. And don't forget, everyone, every Monday you can join me for the Doc Talk live Q&A, where I will answer all your questions live from YouTube, Facebook, and Intercom. And when watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe below and make sure you click on the bell to enable notifications so that you never miss a show. Okay? All right, we're here to teach you, not preach to you, to teach you, to train you, to become the master of your body. All our shows and our Q&As are time-stamped so that you never have to go watching the whole show. You can go directly to the topic or to the question. Also, if you want to download the audios of every show, any show, go to iTunes, Spotify, or SoundCloud. Again, thank you, Jay, and to all my listeners who make this show possible. And God bless everyone. And remember something, take back your power, but better still, why don't we just stop giving it away? All right? 3, 2, 1, together, we can do this. Teamwork makes the dream work. God bless.
Greg started probably almost 5 years ago now, noticing some weakening in his hands and a little trouble breathing. It was almost a year before we received the diagnosis of ALS. And the wonderful thing about that disease is they're extremely honest with you. When they give you the diagnosis, they tell you today is the best day of the rest of your life. Every day it's going to get worse, and you're going to get weaker and weaker. It's been an amazing ride, because as he's continued to get weaker and weaker, we found you in December, and at that point he was in a state where he could not move any of his extremities, no hands, no fingers, no arms.
Trouble holding my head up.
Yes, and he had trouble holding his head up. Within 5 days, there was strength in the neck. Within a week and a half, we noticed movement in the fingers. In January, about the 10th, we started noticing movement in his feet, which we haven't seen any of that since probably August. In the beginning, we noticed trouble breathing. He went snorkeling and had trouble in the ocean. Didn't seem to have enough strength to breathe. Then he was always extremely active and very fit. So all of a sudden, one morning, he couldn't open the peanut butter jar. And little things like that just were out of character for him. Then it got worse. We went to a number of different doctors, and it was me who finally said, I think this is what it is, just with what's going on. I don't know why the doctors aren't telling us. So we ended up having to leave Canada and go down to the States for diagnosis, because here they wouldn't even run tests on him. So we went down to the States, and within a month we had the diagnosis.
Once we had the diagnosis from the American side, then they started listening to us up here.
And then that's what I said. We changed diet. We've been proactive in fighting it as much as we could. We got to a place last November where the breathing tests had come back at under 30% to lung capacity and those kind of things. They told us to prepare. He was in his last 3 months of life. So all the way through here, we've been diligent in exercising the body as much as we can, range of motion and those kind of things.
And the ALS Society is trying to discourage me from exercising, because they're telling me that as long as I'm exercising, I'm just going to wear those muscles out quicker.
Seeing him being able to just hold his head up off the pillow was amazing. He had gotten to a place where we actually use mechanical devices to move him from place to place. And when you put him into bed at night, you had to cradle his head like a baby again, because the neck wasn't able to support the weight of the head. The first night, that after I put him to bed, he lifted his head off the pillow and came to get the water from me. It brought tears to my eyes, because he had probably been a month losing those muscles. And once we lost those muscles, then that stops us from going out and being part of the community and being with the grandchildren and those kind of things. Now that he can hold his head up again, we're free of the prison of the house. We're free of the prison of having to have things around us continuously just to hold him up straight.
Still going to my grandson's hockey game.
Yes, to be able to get out and do those kind of things, to enjoy the life, because each of us are going to die. And until that point, we want to absolutely enjoy life. And that means being with our family. That means doing things with the grandchildren. And as we lost the strength, you lose your ability to do those kind of things. Yes. So as each step, as we've been able to be able to see him take his hand and flip it from palm up to palm down, it's amazing. Because again, you don't realize how much you value just that until you don't have it. And in the last year and a half, he lost all of that ability. and to not just have the faith ourselves, but to see our children and our grandchildren have the faith. Our son comes in probably once a week, and the first thing he asks is, "Dad, can you scratch your nose yet?" Because he knows that there's a day coming when Greg's going to be able to lift that hand up again and touch his face. It's been a journey, and to watch my husband, who's helped everyone his entire life, to go to someone who needed help was a very humbling experience for him. It was, again, something that God's grace took him through and showed him how to be on the receiving end of that kind of help. But it's been wonderful to see how the community has not only been with us through all this, but is noticing the changes. As we go to hockey games, different ones are saying, "He can move his hand again. Did you see that? He moved his hand." So it's not just me who's noticing these kind of things. Our home care workers, as they come in to do exercises, they're noticing he moved his foot today. He's able to resist me. He wasn't able to do any of those kind of things over the last few months.
In the last month here, I'm dreaming about stepping up and walking again. That's what I dream about at night. I dream about walking out of that chair and doing things with my family like I used to. That's what I dream about. So I'm excited. Really looking forward to it, Daryl.
I think for us right now, as a couple and as a family, we had come to a place where we had resigned ourselves to the fact that the end was very close. We have an older vehicle right now that we figured would get us through. We're looking at buying a different van to transport him with, because he wants to get going again. And as a family, we're willing to.
I'm really excited about moving forward.